Hello and welcome, it's Adam from betterproposals.io here, and we are back with season 3 of Proposal Breakdown. Now, in this episode, we're looking at Sunshine Office Solutions. Now, they do bookkeeping, so let's dive in. So, the cover's quite cool. The graphic is brilliant. The image is really, really smart. It's a nice sort of arty shot of a laptop with some sort of financy looking documents kicking around, which is really, really cool. So it tells a nice story between we get finance, but also we're technologically advanced as well. It's very, very well personalized. So it mentions the company name or the potential client name in there. So straight away they know it's for them. So that's a really, really good shout. The only piece of criticism here is maybe get an inverted white version of the logo, so you haven't got that sort of weird white square on it. But other than that, very, very good job with the cover. Now, there is a lot going on in this proposal, and a lot of it is confusing. So I'm going to try not to be too harsh here and try and take the lessons from it rather than sort of ripping it to pieces, if you like. Okay, so the introduction is titled engagement letter, but it isn't an engagement letter. An engagement letter is not this. This is a description of what they're going to do, but it's sort of not really that either. Basically, this entire document is it's just a legal, it's all written like a contract, which is really strange because it's not personal. It's all very, I mean, I don't want to sort of read out random little bits here because it's all taken out of context, but it sort of explains stuff that doesn't need to be in there. Like, we're required to ensure that we have engagement letters in place with our clients. I mean, that is not something that is necessary in a proposal. It just isn't. You don't need to explain that kind of stuff. You just tell them, like, this is the document, sign it. You need to take the lead here. You're the one with the white coat on. You're the doctor prescribing the medicine, the solution here, right? So try and take that approach here. If somebody's coming to you with a service problem, they have the problem and you have the solution. So instead of asking for like their take on things like, oh, we're required to do this, is that okay? It's just sign this. You're gonna need to sign this. Take that sort of forceful approach with it. So the engagement letter here, like the first thing that should be here is literally a 1-2 sentence description of the problem that the person is facing. So there should have been a phone call or some discovery that's happened before this where the person that's written this has said, what are your major issues? Okay, right, it's time. You haven't got the time to do your own bookkeeping. So I'm going to take that problem away from you. What is that causing you? What are you not able to do in your week because you're spending 6 hours a week doing your bookkeeping? Oh, okay, so you're not doing any marketing and not growing the business. So now it's a different approach, you see? So that's the kind of stuff that should be front and center in the middle of the introduction, not explaining why they need to have certain contracts in place. So that's that. Now we move on. Scope of engagement. So I don't fully understand this. It's got this sort of weird, my bookkeeping business in quotes, which I think is referring to her stuff. And then there's the next page is scope of engagement, your business. So that's sort of like, this is all her stuff. And then there's their stuff, which is fine. So this is actually quite cool because she's splitting up the responsibility. She's saying, this is what I'm going to do and this is what you're going to have to do, which is fine to a point. So in this, she talks about the bookkeeping services, what she's going to do, end of year stuff, other services, and then says what she's not responsible for, which is very, very good. Good to be clear about that. Then we move on to their responsibilities. But again, this titling, sort of client, business owner in quotes, I feel like you could just put the actual company name there. I mean, there's hardly much to edit. That would make it seem much more personalized. So my issue with this page is that there's an awful lot that's on this page. It's bookkeeping services. So really, it should just be a case of like, drop a bag of receipts off at my door and let me get on with it. It's bookkeeping. What else do we need to do? But there seems to be an awful lot of information here. In fact, there's more stuff on this, what the client needs to do, than the other side. And then we move on to the next page, which is our promise and commitment. And then there's a whole load more stuff of what she will do and then what the client will do. And again, the client's side is way longer than her side, which seems really strange to me. So this could be trimmed right back. I mean, the whole thing's written like it's just covering her ass, basically, just trying to make sure that she doesn't get in trouble for anything, which is okay, but that's what your terms and conditions are for. You don't need to have that in your proposal. So try not to be too legal and too proper in your proposal. So moving on, investment. Good that she's using the word investment. That's a really, really smart move. Trying to avoid all words like costs, fees, price, all that kind of stuff, because it doesn't imply any kind of return. So investment's a really, really good one here. Now this is really confusing. So she's got, her fee is $65 an hour for bookkeeping, and it's $85 an hour for consulting and training. I've gone on record many times to say that I hate the idea of hourly charging. I get that it exists and there's not really an awful lot that I can't change it. But this is why it doesn't work. Legitimately, it probably is worth $85 an hour for her to do consulting and training. And it legitimately is worth her, bookkeeping services aren't worth $85 an hour. That's a lot for a bookkeeper. But it looks really strange. If you're happy with a certain hourly rate, then you're happy with that hourly rate. Why is it different depending on what you're doing? It doesn't make sense. So I would be inclined to either knock the training off or just find an average in the middle. That would probably make more sense. And just go with sort of 70 or 75 or something, and just that's the hourly rate regardless of what you need. And it'll all even itself out. So there's lots of stuff in here, way too much information on this price page here. So there's no indication of like how many hours, like what is this actually going to cost me? I don't have that question answered. So if I'm reading this as the reader, I don't have any idea how much this is going to cost me. I'm none the wiser. I could have found the 65 quid out by going on the website probably. So I've not really learned anything. There's an awful lot of information on this. And then there's all this information about debt collection. Like literally half of the investment page is about what is going to happen if you don't pay your bill. It's the wrong time to bring that up. It's just the wrong time. You're trying to move them forward and get them, over the line here. You don't want to be sort of putting the brakes on. So there is a cool thing here saying that they can switch from an hourly rate to a sort of a set monthly fee after a certain point, once she's, I guess, figured out how much work they are and whatever, which is cool. So she explains that she needs 3 months of the hourly thing before she can switch to a monthly commitment. And then on the next steps page, which I admit I'm jumping forward here, but on the next steps page, it says, advise us if you want a fixed monthly price. But how can that happen? So there's logic, there's an inconsistency here. So that needs a bit of work. Just be clear. Your price has to be clear. Just say what the price is. Don't dilly-dally around. Don't sugarcoat it. Just say what it is. There's a privacy policy here, which looks like it's copied off a website, but don't use words that people are already used to when they mean something else. Privacy policy is the bit we ignore in the footer of a website. This should be like a privacy promise. That's what really this is. It's the same, we're not going to share your data, we're going to look after it, we're going to be responsible with it. Call it something slightly different. A privacy promise would be better here. Terms and conditions is fine. That's all great. It's good that it's in there. Again, next steps. It's got step 1, electronically sign your agreement. Great stuff. Step 2, call me if you want to discuss anything further. Step 3, advise if you want the monthly fee. And then the signing blocks at the bottom of the terms and conditions, which isn't explained. So I would move the signing block onto this page so they can just see it. It's on the shorter page. And then, yeah, so all in all, there's quite a lot that would need to be rearranged with this proposal. The content of it is probably okay, the basis of it. It's just incredibly wordy in some cases. And it's written like a legal document just split up. So be careful with this stuff. Try not to write it like a legal document, and remember you're trying to actually sell some stuff. So I hope that's helped, and stay tuned for the next episode.